They were all with one accord. Will you please remember the two words, one accord? We'll come back to it way at the end of the message, but remember, one accord, and this is not talking about a small Honda car, by the way. They were all in one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven. Please remember where this came from. Did not come from hell, came from heaven. As of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the whole house where they were sitting. Then there appeared to them divided tongues. This word divided is not a bad word. It simply means separate. In other words, fire came down, and then the fire divided or separated so that each person had a tongue of fire over his or her head, all right? Then appeared to them divided or separated tongues as a fire, and one sat upon each of them. In other words, God has one for you, for every person. And they were all, not a few of them, they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. Now this word tongues is the Greek word glossa, which is where we get our word glossary, okay? It means languages, words, all right? Now, let me tell you some things, 3 points about the pure language, all right? Number one, it is a language. It is a language. The heavenly language is a language. It is not gibberish, it is a language. Keep reading in Acts 2, look at verses 5 and 6. And there were dwelling in Jerusalem Jews, devout men from every nation under heaven. That's an amazing statement, by the way, when you think about it. And when this sound occurred, the multitude came together and were confused. Remember the word confused? Because everyone heard them speak in his own language. His own language. This word for language here is dialectos, which means where we get our word dialect, all right? Everyone heard them in their own dialect or their own language. First thing you need to understand about speaking in tongues is it's a language. The Bible is clear that it is a language. And I want to blow away some myths about this language. So I actually have 3 subpoints under point 1. And I'm going to put them on the screen in case you want to write them down. So these are 3 myths about speaking in tongues. 3 myths, in other words, untrue stories about speaking in tongues. Here's number 1. You start speaking it fluently the first day. Many people believe that when you begin praying in tongues, you start speaking fluently the first day. Okay, remember, it's a language. You don't do this with any language. Whatever language you speak, maybe you speak English, you didn't begin speaking English fluently the first day. If you learned a second language, how many of you here learned a second or third, but it's at least a second language? Can I see your hand? Okay, now you know, by the way, if you speak 2 languages, it's called bilingual. If you speak 1 language, you're called American. But you didn't start speaking the second language fluently the first day. You didn't even start speaking your first language fluently the first day. And it's amazing that we think all of a sudden we'll speak a heavenly language fluently the first day. No, you grow and you learn in any language which you speak.